Hello, this is Jill from Paper Daisy Crafting. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If this goes out at the weekend, which is what I'm planning, sometimes things don't go to plan, so might regret saying that. I'm bringing you today the card that I featured on the Project Share blog hop, which went out on Saturday the 14th of January. So I'm hoping I'm going to publish this at the same time, but like I said, things don't always go to plan, so maybe not. Yeah, this is my card, and I'm once again using this lovely stamp set, which is called Petal Park. Showcasing this set, which is in the new mini catalogue. Really lovely and has a coordinated punch, although I haven't used the punch today, just used the stamps, and in a slightly different little way, which I quite like actually. I'm using a sheet of paper that is from Hues of Happiness. If I can find a sheet. Let's see. So it's got these lovely flowers. I love this pattern, these little ditzy flowers, but it's also got this lovely graduated rainbow sort of oil painting kind of texture on the back, and I've just used a couple of strips of that to stamp my stamps on. So I've started out, I don't know if you can see the texture there, with the Pretty Flowers embossing folder. And I realised I did this off camera before I came on, because I don't really like using my die cutter on camera. It's just too big and cumbersome. But I'll just show you what I did. So I just placed, if I can get this up the same way again as there. I just placed my card blank in there with the crease right up against the side there. Put it in there, and then it goes through your cutting machine, your cut and emboss. And what you need for this folder is number 1 plate, and then a number 3, and then I put, that's your sandwich, and then that goes on top. So yeah, so I did that off camera, so but that's quite easy to do. Any problems with the cut and emboss, let me know and I'll try and help, but you shouldn't have. Right, okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to create this lovely piece of patterned paper. So we're starting off, this is the other end of this paper, so that would be there. So we're using the other end, so a different colour scheme this time. And I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper just because I might go over the edge. I've got my Memento ink, and I've got the outline stamp, which is this one with these 3 flowers, loaded up on a D block today. So I'm just going to ink that up, make sure it's nice and inky, and then I'm going to stamp my 3 flowers like so. Oh, it's sticking to the stamp, there we go. And then I'm just going to carry on doing that. So I'm just going to ink up that little one and put that in the hole, which is there. That's why I need the paper, because it's going over. And then just going to carry on building it up. It's a little bit tricky because this is a 3 stamp, so you've got to position it where, you know, you've got to get it in position. I want the big one up there really, so I'm gonna, so it just takes a little minute to position it exactly where you want it, like that. And then another one with the big one down the bottom. And then if you wanted to, you could just come in and fill up some of those spaces. So that one up here, I might just put a part flower up there. And then I might take the little one, ink the little one up, and do another stamp down there. But that's all you need really. And then just to fill in some of the spaces, I took the tiny, tiny little leaf stamp, this little outliney one, mounted that on an A block, and just stamped in between. So this DSP gives you a lovely background for working on like this. It's really good, so you can create lots of, so if you've got any line stamps, you can do this technique. You don't have to be this particular stamp set, although it does work well. So just filling in any spaces with this little leaf stamp so it doesn't look too disjointed. So just keep going until you think you've filled in enough spaces. What do you think? Do you think that's enough? I think so, maybe one more up here. and then I think that's enough. There. And so now we're going to mount that onto our card blank. This is our thick Whisper White that I did that from. We're going to mount this onto here. It overlaps a little bit, that doesn't matter, we'll trim it off later. Mount that onto there. Like so. A little bit of Tombow on the back of here. And a toothpick to just spread that out. Like so. And then I'm gonna put it more towards the yellow end because I don't really want the yellow. I think I'd like the purples and greens on this one, blues and greens. So I'm going to put it there. Is that straight? Not quite, I don't think. Just take it off. Tombow will give you a little bit of time to play about with it and make sure you've got it straight and things and where you want it. Yeah, that looks a bit better, I think. Right, and then I'm going to take a little bit. Now, you could have mounted this onto black card, but I'm a bit of a Scrooge with my cardstock. So to give that border, I'm just going to cut 2 little slivers of 3mm. So it's quite easy to do this on the trimmer because you can measure this side as 3mm. So you get 2 little tiny strips that are going to border our panel of paper. Like so. Like so. There we go. And then I'm just going to use my Tombow and do a border of glue along here. Very, very thin line. Don't need a lot of glue. I'm not sure how else you could stick these if you don't use Tombow. I don't think you could do it with tear and tape or anything. They're too fine, it's too tiny. But like I said, you could do you could stick the whole panel onto black cardstock and just cut it so that there's a tiny bit showing, but then all the bit that was under here would be wasted. And like I say, I'm a little bit mean. I like spending my money on stamps and dies and punches. I don't really like spending it on the sort of essentials because they're not terribly exciting. So there we go. I like them to have them in my stock, but I conserve them as much as I can. There we go. Right. Oh, that's really pretty, isn't it? Right, now we just need to trim off. So I'm hoping my cutter is going to trim all the way through these. So I'm just going to put that in here and just trim off a tiny edge. Oh, that's moved my black strip, but that's all right. That cut through that quite nicely and evenly. And then I think I need a new blade on my cutter actually. So that's something to do tomorrow. And then there we are. Now you've got really lovely flush edges there. And then the greeting, again, I've used a greeting from Go-To Greetings, which is my Go-To Greeting set. And I'm using this little Just a Note down here. So lots of lovely greetings in this set, really worth having to add to your stash. Right, okay, so we're going to take a little bit of black cardstock, basic black cardstock, and my embossing buddy. And then Versamark pad. Stamp that up. The embossing buddy just stops any little flecks that would, any sticky patches that would make the flecks of embossing powder stick. So it just makes it really nice and clean. This is my white powder. I find it much easier to use it in a box like this than using spoons or anything like that. Right, I've got a little tiny paintbrush, so any specks that do stick, I can soon whisk them away before I heat it. So just bring in my embossing tool. And right there. And then I'm going to trim this down to 3/4 of an inch. And there is method in my madness. So I want to make sure it's straight first of all. So I'm just going to try and line up the base of that greeting so that I can make sure it's nice and straight. Hoping that's straight. And then if I cut this side down and then go around to here, I should be able to cut it to 3/4, and the 3/4 is very easily marked on your trimmer, so it's quite nice and easy to trim down that line. And then that's our greeting. I'm going to trim a little bit off both ends. So I'm going to leave about 1 centimetre, 1/2 inch either side of the greeting. Of course, if you want to be precise, you can measure it. I'm a real do-it-by-eye girl. So, and then we're going to use the Banners Picker Punch. This is called, and it's got a 3/4 of an inch slot, so that should slide nicely in there to the end, and then punch, and then other way. You could do it with the other side if you wanted fishtails. I quite like this pointy version. And then that is just going to go, you could put it on dimensionals if you wanted to. I quite liked it just laying flat. So I'm just going to put some Tombow on the back here. And glue that down, and then that's our card made. Again, if you want to be precise, you could measure to make sure this is in the middle. I'm trusting my eyes today. Sometimes I measure, sometimes I just trust my eyeballing of it. And there we are. There's my card. So I've got 2 lovely cards here. I'm always needing cards for anonymous occasions, various occasions. So these will be great. These will be really great to send out. So I hope you like them. I'm really pleased with them. I'm quite enjoying them. I thought that was quite a different way to use the stamp set. I hope you finished looking through the blog hop. If not, go back to my blog, the link's down below, and continue hopping, because the other girls will have some fantastic things to show you. And that's it from me today. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because I do come on with lots of projects and things. But that's it from me today. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.